Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk about the Season 6 premiere of Supergirl, which I forgot was coming because I was expecting another episode of Superman and Lois, but that's on hiatus, I guess, for a while. So we got the return of Supergirl, the premiere episode of the final season. It was called Rebirth. It picks up where last season left off, and we have Brainy in a precarious situation where, he's been working with Luthor and all of that and sort of betraying his friends, but he thinks he's doing it to save humanity, but he finds himself in a bit of a jam and he needs some help, and Dreamer shows up. Dreamer is on the scene and she's trying to help him out. At the same time, the rest of Team Supergirl arrives. I'm talking about John Jones, Alex, and McGann all show up. McGann's so cool. And they're trying to, also save Brainy and help Dreamer. I did not like Alex's look at all. Like, I remember last season, she kind of took on this new persona now that she's not with the governmental agents anymore, where she can manifest different tech from nanobots or whatever it is. But I didn't like her appearance. The hair is terrible. The makeup's terrible. I don't like it. She's so attractive, but wow, they're doing her dirty, I think, with the look of her character these days. But Brainiac realizes they can solve the fix that they're in by using the anti-life equation, which is weird because that played such a central role in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I had never heard of it before. I used to read superhero comics. I don't really do that anymore. I keep up with them on TV and stuff more than anything else. And so the anti-life equation was something that I hadn't heard of. I had to research it when the Snyder Cut came out. But to see them using it on a DC TV show was pretty weird, especially since the way they use it is different than the way I would have assumed that it would be used. And by that, I mean by a villain. But I guess the good guys found a use for it, so whatever works. Then we zip over to Lex Luthor's headquarters. And apparently he has powers now. So he can shoot kryptonite out of his hands and do all kinds of things. So he's extremely dangerous now, more than ever. It's interesting because, as we know, on Superman and Lois, there's a completely different Lex Luthor. I don't know. We know that Lex Luthor's from another Earth. Fine, but they said all the Earths were merged into one during Crisis, so they're going to have to explain that. I don't know. We'll see. But the team soon learns that he has a plan to, I guess, wipe out all the humans that hadn't been converted to a follower of his by being sucked into a VR universe. And he's doing it by 12 satellites that are circling the Earth, and they come up with a way to take them down, which involves McGann and John Jones going up into space and sort of mentally connecting to each other and then connecting to the satellites and blowing them all up. But they know that when they try to do this, Luthor is going to sense it and try to stop them. So Kara volunteers to offer herself to Luthor so that he'll be distracted. So she arranges to meet him at the Fortress of Solitude and does not expect to survive the encounter. So I thought that was pretty daunting. We know, of course, she probably is because they've got to finish out the season. But she records a sort of farewell message, and it was a little, daunting to hear her talk about not surviving the battle that she knows she has to fight. So I thought it was a good character moment. But Lex soon shows up, and he's zapping her with kryptonite beams, right from his hands, which is so weird. I don't know how he developed that ability. I guess I have to brush up on last season to remember, but it was pretty scary because he's kind of killing Supergirl, which is not good. But fortunately, McGann and John get the satellites to go down and everybody is rescued. But, Luthor, of course, thinks, well, once I kill Supergirl, I'll be free to just rebuild them and start over. It's not a big deal. So we don't know what's going to happen there. Meanwhile, Dreamer and Alex go to Lex's headquarters to take out Lex's mom and Narn, I guess, who was still assisting Lex and his mom. And Dreamer kicks some ass. She kicks Lex's mom right in the face. And I was like, yeah, go Dreamer. And Alex took out Norn, so that was cool. I really enjoy John Cryer as Lex Luthor. And I point that out because I don't like the Lex Luthor in the DCEU films. I think that actor was a terrible choice for Lex Luthor, but John Cryer does a good job. I'd have to say my favorite Lex Luthor is probably Clancy Brown from the Superman animated series and from Justice League. But yeah, John Cryer, I think, does a good job. And a lot of that's writing. The way they write it makes a difference. So between the writing and John Cryer's acting, I think it's a great portrayal of Lex Luthor. So back at the Fortress of Solitude, Lex has pretty much kicked Supergirl's ass, and she's kind of dying. But the Lena protocol kicks in. Apparently, Lena, who had gone there with Supergirl before the battle and then left, set something up so that if Supergirl went down, she could sort of revive her by shining sunlight on her or beaming sunlight at her, which she does from a drone, and it works, which was awesome. But she, still has to take out Luthor, even though she's revived now. The danger isn't over. She shows up in the room where Luthor is. He's kind of breaking stuff and celebrating having defeated Supergirl, and she confronts him, and the rest of Team Supergirl shows up, and there's a really cool battle, and Lex ends up losing. But only after he has managed to trap Kara in the Phantom Zone, which is not good. And next week, we're going to have to see how the team tries to get her out of it. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as just reactivating the Phantom Zone gun that he used to trap her, because it got busted in the fight. And so they have to figure out a way to get her out. We're going to have to see how they do it. But in the fight, Lex ended up losing his powers, thank goodness, and he is now in jail with his mother. Right before the episode ends, there's a scene between John and Alex where John explains to her that, she's a pretty cool hero in her own right. And he sort of gives her a new name, a code name, and he gives her the name Sentinel after one of his fellow Martians that used to sort of be a guardian on Mars of, I think, the prison, he says. Or anyway, there was this person, this entity that he knew on Mars that was a hero who fought on the side of good, and they're deceased now. So he passes that title of Sentinel on to Alex. So that's going to be cool. We're going to have to see what she does with that. I think it's going to be different from Sentinel in terms of what was in the comics. Sentinel in the comics was Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern. Apparently in the comics, after years as a Green Lantern, he ends up becoming this different character called Sentinel. Obviously, that's not Alex. So whether they're going to pretend this is the same Sentinel or they're going to just say it's a different Sentinel, we don't know. So we'll see more next week as the final season of Supergirl continues. But that's the end of my review, except to say I thought this was a decent episode. There were some good moments actually between Kara and Lena. I really like the Lena character. I like the relationship between her and Kara. I think they really care about each other. And it was killing me when they were on the outs. I hated that whole thing. I'm really glad to see that they're getting back to being good friends and trusting each other. There are a lot of good moments for that. I like seeing the Magan character. She's a cool character. And I think Dreamer is really cool. And I liked seeing Lex get his ass kicked. So I look forward to next week, and hopefully you look forward to my next review. Until then, I'm going to say peace and long life.